This is the Orbea KEMEN SUV 30. It's kind of an adventure touring electric bike. We got 100 millimeters of travel up here on this air suspension, this Marzocchi Bomber with compression adjust, rebound adjust. It's a nice fork, and this bike is set up with boost hub spacing. So we have wider, sturdier hubs, thru-axle here, 15 millimeters, 12 millimeters in the back, and the Shimano EP8 mid-drive motor rated at 85 Newton meters of torque. I have found this bike to be light and nimble, but also with these 29er wheels, you have that low attack angle, you kind of have this steady feeling. It's able to overcome larger obstacles. So it really is kind of like a cross-country touring bike. And when you look at these 70 millimeter aluminum alloy, very sturdy fenders with the extenders down here, the little fenders, you get the sense that you could take this bike off-road without getting yourself super messy, without having a whole lot of rattling. As nice as these fenders are, it is a bit of a compromise having a plastic cuff to mount to the lowers of that suspension fork. I kind of like it when you've got like a metal piece here and you can thread right into it. But this is very purpose-built. It's kind of a cuff that goes at an angle, and these support struts, they don't have sharp metal pieces exposed. They go right into that plastic flap. Check out this rack. I'm really digging this. This is MIK HD compatible. It's also Ortlieb compatible with their QL 3.1 quick release system that works really well. We've got a pannier hanger, a bungee loop at the bottom, a great platform up top, and it's rated at 27 kilograms, which is roughly 60 pounds. That is above average. Most of the rear racks I see on electric bikes, they're rated to, 25 kilograms, 55 pounds, or even 20 kilograms. This could, I feel like it could handle a child's seat as well as a trunk bag, 2 panniers, or whatever you want to throw at it. It's one of the better racks I've seen, and it interfaces here with that aluminum alloy fender, and we've got those supports at the bottom. I noticed the rack on the step-through version of this bike isn't quite as fancy. It doesn't have the separated pannier hanger. It seems to only have one support arm on each side, and it doesn't have the bungee loop at the bottom. I also want to mention that the step-through frame, it seems to only have one bottle cage mount, which might be used for the range extender battery, and then you wouldn't have anywhere to put your water bottle except for maybe a trunk bag or something. I'll show that frame a little bit later, but there are some major differences between these two, high step that we see here. Just seeing that, and the fenders and these mountain bike tires, right? These are Schwabe Johnny Watts. I wonder if that's sort of a call out to e-bikes. I think they are eMTB rated. You can see this little sticker right here, eMTB tire, Addicts compound, double defense, puncture protection, and performance line with reflective sidewall stripes. Like, how cool is that? So they're off-road mountain biking tires, but they're also going to show up a little bit more if you're in a city environment. So this comes back to the whole touring concept. I feel like you could get this electric bike and use it for anything. So coming back to the drive system down here, the EP8 motor is measuring rear wheel speed, pedal cadence, pedal torque, and the magnet, sort of the sensor, is integrated down here, so it's out of the way. You don't have like a spoke magnet that's going to get bumped out of position. And because it's measuring these 3 signals, it's very dynamic. I noticed that as I was shifting gears here with this Shimano Deore derailleur, it's got the clutch, so you can tighten this up and reduce the chain bounce. Even if the chain bounces a bit, we've got this long rubber slap guard with a little bit of lower protection, a narrow, wide 36-tooth steel chain ring up front, so it's really going to grab that chain with an aluminum alloy guard. It's keeping my pant leg kind of clean and snag-free today, but it also acts as a bash guard from below. And this cassette is e-bike specific. Okay, so the ramps and the transitions, I think they're a little bit sturdier, and they're just designed to handle the extra torque of a mid-drive motor. So this is the first time I've actually seen this. It's a 10-speed, 11 to 43 tooth. I'm used to seeing, 11 to 32 or maybe 36, but 43. So you have that larger sprocket, which is going to make it easier to climb. Coming back to that mountain bike application, the bike really isn't as heavy as I was expecting. It's about 52.5 pounds for the size medium, and it does come in 4 frame sizes: small, medium, large, and extra large. So you can get that really comfortable fit, make sure you're getting a proper pedal reach. And there are 3 different trim levels. There's the 40, the 30, and the 10. And as you go to the smaller number, 10, that's actually the highest spec model. So I'm looking at the 30 today. It's kind of the mid-level. So it's a sizable increase in price. And the big difference is you get nicer suspension, a nicer derailleur, a greater spread on your cassette, and then a nicer wheel set with the 10. It might be worth it to you. You could save a little weight and have higher performance at those levels. This one has Magura MT3 hydraulic disc brakes with 2 finger levers, 180 millimeter rotor up front, 160 in the rear, with these large dual piston calipers. So Magura makes good stuff. It's definitely an upgrade. The base level SUV KEMEN 40, it's got Shimano brakes. So you go to Magura MT3 and then MT4. So it's kind of stepped up that way. And this air shock versus a coil shock that's going to be a little bit heavier on the 40. And then you get up to a Fox float when you go to the KEMEN SUV 10. It's amazing to see that each one of these bikes come in a high step and a mid step and 3 colors. I like the yellow because it's a little bit more visible and it matches these Ortlieb panniers so well. They have these waterproof panniers, they roll up at the top, and you can use them without the QL3 system, but that makes it even easier and a little bit more secure than the little tab, like the swivel tab that's on the back. So many options. So it's a very intentional electric bike. So I'm back at City Cycles. I got the bike with the charger and everything here. I wanted to go through this with you for a second. The main battery is 540 watt hours, which is pretty decent, and it's built into that down tube there. It's sort of a permanent solution. I mean, I think you can take it out to replace the pack if you need to, but you might want to work with a shop to do that. And what that means is you're going to have to get the bike close enough to a wall outlet to actually charge it. You can't just take the battery off if you're commuting or something. And that's one of the trade-offs. It's also going to be exposed to more heat or cold if you have to park the bike outside because the battery's in there. One great solution, however, is this range extender option. These are about $600 US. Only adds, 3.2 pounds, but it adds 252 watt hours. So, that's like a 45% increase in overall capacity. You end up with almost 800 watt hours, which is great, especially with an efficient mid-drive like this. And keep in mind, the whole bike, it weighs about 52.5 pounds for the size medium here with the racks, the fenders, and everything. So adding a couple extra pounds or a few extra pounds isn't going to be the end of the world. The weight is all positioned really low, and then this does get you that extra capacity, and it gives you the ability to charge in the office or maybe in your house or something if the bike has to stay in a separate location. The charger's pretty good. It's a 4 amp charger, which is above average, and I'm used to seeing 2 amp chargers with some of the cheaper bikes, so that's great. It weighs a little bit more. This is maybe a couple pounds, and it's a little bit longer, but you've got a removable wall side plug and that water resistant sort of rubber washers on that interface there. It's the same thing for both of these endpoints on this dongle, and there's this release mechanism, so you twist like that and then you can kind of wiggle it loose like that. So this is the main charging port for the bike battery right here. And when I've unplugged the range extender, you start to realize like, oh, I'm going to have to unplug this end too to fill the range extender. So there's a little bit of extra screwing around. I also feel that charging port it's right in the path of the left crank arm. And thankfully, it's not touching the plug or anything, especially when it's plugged in. But you can imagine if you have the charger here, it could start to get snagged. It's just low on the bike, very much like the power button. You have to bend down and press that every time you're getting ready to ride the bike. So for me, I prefer to have those up higher and maybe on the right side of the bike, since it sort of tips towards the left where the kickstand is. Not the end of the world. This is a very similar solution to what I've seen from Specialized and some of the other companies that have these range extender concepts. But again, you have to charge each battery independently. And I don't know, all in all, the charger itself is really nice, and the interfaces seem very water resistant. Just remember to lock it into place and then unlock it before you start really pulling on that thing, or you could kind of crack the little plastic locking mechanism in there. And it's nice to have a little external window here. You've got 4 bars, represents 25% for each one, so you can get a quick idea of how full that range extender is. And when you go to take it off, there's just like a little rubber band, the quick disconnect point, and then you slide it up like a water bottle. Up here at the cockpit, there is a lot to see and appreciate. So first of all, this is a 35 millimeter bar, so it's fatter than like the 31.8 millimeters I'm used to seeing. It's really wide, which gives you a lot of leverage over the taller, kind of heavier wheel, and that's going to be good for navigating different obstacles. I like to see that. The stem doesn't have a lot of rise. I think it's 6 degrees. And then there's this plastic piece that channels the wires down into these custom spacers, and that's actually a light right there. I'm going to show you in a second. And this is an 1.5 inch straight steer tube, but the fork, the post, is actually tapered 1 1/8 to 1.5 inches. So again, extra wide, sturdy 1.5 inches on the steer tube. I think that allows the wires to just go right into the frame. You can see how clean this is. Everything is just like fully integrated, except for that charging cable for the optional range extender battery. Up here, we have a Lezyne E115 Pro, 310 lumens, and down here on that running light, that thing is 60 lumens. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the bike on again. Reach down, got to make sure you do that. If you're mounting the bike and you got to reach down, that's one of the trade-offs. I sort of wish there was a power button right here at the display. Backlit, kind of grayscale. I noticed that you can actually turn off these lights or turn them on independently. So there's a little button here on the left side. Hold that for a second and look at that. Yeah, 60 lumens, and it actually points where you steer as well, and it wraps around the side. So a lot of times I'm calling out these headlights and appreciating the ones that have windows on the side. This is even better. I mean, it's very visible from this side. And then the rear light, it's got 2 LEDs and they're at the ends, so you're really extending that visual footprint in addition to the reflective sidewalls and the optional yellow color. To get that headlight on, there's an independent button over here. I almost missed that at first. You hold that for a couple seconds and then it powers on, and if you tap it again, you can kind of blink the light if you want to, like that, which is sort of cool. It's like a friendly signal when people can't hear the bell. So excellent for, you know, adventure touring and riding in traffic and just getting people's attention for safety. I love that. These grips, flat rubber interlock ring, and then there's this sort of OC or BC. It might stand for Orbea Components. I see it here on the stem, the handlebar, the grips, a few other places. I think that's just their in-house brand, and it feels like they're doing a good job. The grips feel nice and everything. And as we get back towards the display itself, you can see there's a QR code where you can go and get the Shimano E-Tube app, and you can set up 2 different ride profiles. So maybe you have like a city profile where the assist levels are adjusted to be more efficient because you're not having to work as hard, it's smooth terrain. And then you could have a mountain profile where those ones are adjusted to be a little bit stronger. Maybe you're spending the energy faster, but you're able to overcome mountains and steeper inclines or even off-road stuff more easily. There isn't a USB charging port anywhere on this bike, which is a bummer, especially because we've got a decent sized battery capacity, especially with the range extender, and you might be using that app in addition to like GPS or navigation. I could see mounting like a phone holder right here for those long trips. I guess you just got to get a battery backpack for your phone, but again, it's really nice if you have a charge port. I haven't seen any Shimano displays that do have that, at least that I can remember. There's this smaller display they have that mounts over here, but I'm partial to this one. It's like an 1.5 inch diagonal grayscale. We've got the battery infographic. It's not super precise, it's just 5 bars, so each one represents a 20% step. Speed, it's in kilometers per hour. I think you need the E-Tube app to change that to miles per hour. And then range, distance, and odometer down there at the bottom. As we press that center circle, we just cycle through them. So range is cool. It's fairly dynamic. So as we're in the lowest assist, it says 89 kilometers. If we go up to the highest level assist, 29 kilometers. So you get some idea, like if you can make it to the next checkpoint or charging location in the level of assist that you've chosen. And if we click the button, we'll go to distance, 8 kilometers, odometer, 8 kilometers. So this bike is like brand new. It's fairly reachable. There's this extra button on the bottom, and it has like a light icon on it. And I was trying to figure out settings. There is a walk mode. If you hold the down arrow for a couple seconds, it gives you a foot icon, and then you have to hold it again to initiate walk mode. Could be useful if you get a flat tire or you're trying to walk the bike up a steep incline where you can't ride. Maybe it's too crowded or it's too tight or too technical and you don't want to, you know, drop the bike with all your gear. So I love that at least we've got walk mode here. And then I should mention they have an optional upgrade on the headlight, so you can get an even brighter, like heavy duty light for 150 bucks, and it still uses that independent like switch over there, that button. Of course, keep calling out that range extender as an optional upgrade. I want to compliment a few more things before we do the ride test. This great kickstand, plenty of clearance, no pedal lock. It's tool-free adjustable, so you just push on it and slide it up and down. You don't need a tool to do that. And then the saddle, Selle Royal, it's feeling pretty good. Vivo. 31.6 millimeters on that seat post with these little lines so you can remember how it was set. No quick release on that, no quick release in the rear. We do have quick release up front with that through axle, kind of a Maxwell design. Okay, with that said, I think I'm gonna hop on this thing and go for a ride. The EP8 motor is very powerful. I've noticed in the lower cadence I don't hear it as much, and then if I spin faster, it is keeping up, which for me, that's really all I care about. If I switch down to a low gear to climb, I don't want to lose the motor because my cadence has increased. This one seems to keep up pretty well, and the performance is good. I'm gonna go to the highest level of assist here and just start pedaling. So nearly instant, you know, it catches on very quickly, and that's important if you're climbing something steep or you're in technical terrain. I like this motor for that reason. And it also cuts out quickly. It's not like I stop pedaling and it kind of like slows down, and it's just more precise, which is what you want. With these wider handlebars, I noticed that going through doorways and stuff like this, I have to be extra careful not to accidentally catch the handlebar, which is sort of the same for most mountain bikes. You get the leverage, but yeah, look at that. It's just, it's pretty tight. Overall comfort on this bike has been really good. I think because of the lower attack angle. These are 29 by 2.35 inch. And with the knobs here, that takes some vibration out and it just gives you a little bit more cushion. So the air volume, the suspension up here, 100 millimeters of travel. I like that it's a hardtail because it just gives you extra strength in the rear for that rack, especially if you're carrying a lot of cargo. If this was full suspension, there are bikes like the recent Mueller Delight that has a suspended rear rack, but the bike is a lot heavier and there's just potential for more frame flex and stuff if it's really loaded up. So hardtail totally makes sense to me, but I would consider adding a suspension seat post. So 31.6 millimeters on that seat post. Get something from like Connect, SR Sun Tour, Redshift Sports has a suspension seat post. They're all really good, and some of them more adjustable than others. So that's what I would do if you're like me and you have the sensitive neck and back and you're going to be riding long distance. There's even a suspension stem now from Redshift, but I'm not sure how compatible that would be with all these custom spacers and the light. I found some shade over here and those lights really pop. I want to, you know, compliment the position on these again. They're really done well between the different angles of visibility, the high lumens 310 on that main headlight, and being higher, right? A lot of times you'll see a light mounted to the arch on a suspension fork and it's unsprung, so it's going to be bouncing around like that. Yeah, it still points where you steer, but the higher the better, right? And so I've got a helmet here Abus gave me years ago. It's got a light built into the back. A lot of times I'm trying to wear reflective stuff since my jacket is black, and you know, sometimes you got like the ankle wraps or a backpack with a light on it. If you're into trekking and touring, you probably know this, but you know, safety is a big deal when you're riding around areas that might not be so familiar and you're riding in, you know, maybe dusk, different times of day where there's heavy traffic. So again, big compliments to Orbea for going above and beyond in a really clever way.
Pausing workout.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Hope that's going to be good enough.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, you know, anything is better than nothing.
You got it.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thanks for your help. I'm glad you were here. Well guys, it's been a fun afternoon. I rode all around on this thing. It's the kind of bike I really like because you can kind of go anywhere and have a lot of fun with it, and it's high-end stuff. Sure, you can't remove the battery, and the on-off switch is in sort of a weird location, and there are some little gripes here and there, but you know, $45.99, that's not bad for the mid-level. I want to thank City Cycles in Langley, BC for letting me use one of their bikes. You know, they end up getting a little dirty and stuff. It's really nice of them to share. They've got a great shop where you can see bikes like this, and I just really appreciate getting to do it. As usual, this is just a free review. I'm having fun checking out new stuff and trying to mix it up a little bit. Back at ElectricBikeReview.com, I've recorded all the specs that I measured by hand. I also have a comparison tool, so you can look at some other electric bikes that maybe they're kind of cross-country or touring, and you sort of mix and match and price them out and see what works. There's also a forum, so you can talk directly with people and hear about the best accessories or whether that light upgrade is worth it or not. I love you guys. Have fun out there. We'll see you next time.